Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about this latest episode of My 600-Pound Life. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and also let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments. In this episode, we meet Shakyia. She's 26 years old from Charlotte, North Carolina, and her weight is unknown. So she says that when the episode starts, we see her getting out of bed. She's having a really hard time. She says that as soon as she wakes up, the pain starts. And, she says this is not how her life is supposed to be. This is not how she envisioned her life. So we see where she left her room and she's headed to the bathroom, but it doesn't look like a very long hall. It looks like it's a straight hallway from her room to the bathroom. And she is so out of breath before she even gets there. And she talks about how her heart beats so hard sometimes that it scares her. And I just wish in hearing that this would be scary enough for her to make the changes that she needs to for her health, because she was not going that far. So then she's in the bathroom and, she's on the toilet before she takes a shower and they're filming her. And I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, give these people some dignity. Maybe if you feel like you're curious about their bathing routine, that maybe you can ask them about that. But why are you showing that she's on the toilet naked because she took her clothes off and they're blurring stuff out? But still, we don't need to see her on the toilet. So anyway, after she takes her shower, she describes what she has to do or how she gets it done, and then she gets dressed and she goes downstairs. So it looks like when she gets a part of the way, there's a landing, and then she goes, there's more steps to get downstairs. And by the time she passes the landing, she has to sit down and rest because she's so out of breath. She says, sometimes she wants to give up, but she's motivated to get downstairs because she's looking forward to the food. And she basically talks about how her mouth is watering when she thinks about food. But her breathing is legit very scary. She gets winded so easily. And she says how, food brings her happiness. Nothing and nobody else can bring her that, which is just so sad to hear. And I can see why she never really lost the weight, because if she changed her eating habits or if she doesn't eat as much food, or she doesn't have the opportunity to eat whenever something bothers her, then her happiness is gone. And so, if there's no other happiness in your life, how is she going to make these changes? You don't want to be sad if the only thing that brings you happiness is taken away. Who wants that? So I feel very sad for her, and I just wonder, does she not feel loved by anyone? There's nobody in her life that she feels love her. If, let's say it's not her parents, but maybe a grandparent, an aunt, no one. It's just sad. So then she gets downstairs to make her breakfast. She's making bacon. I mean, there's a whole pot of sausages. It has to be like a dozen sausages. There's like 15 biscuits she's baking. I mean, I legitly had to pause and count because there's so much stuff. So she says she currently lives with her mom, her dad, her sister, and her 3 kids. So after she makes breakfast, we see her sister, Shanika comes downstairs, and she had a little bit of the breakfast, but it seemed like for the most part, Shakyia was the one who was eating most of it. We even see where she had corn dogs on her plate when her sister came downstairs. I was like, wow, that's not a breakfast food. When did corn dogs get into the mix? But Shakyia goes on to say that her family had implored her to cut back on her food, make better choices, but she doesn't because food is her top priority. So I think what she meant was that, these foods that she like, she doesn't want to change because she's eating the things that she likes. And going back to, her happiness being tied to food, if these are the things that make her happy, that's the priority, is, having her happiness because nobody else or nothing else brings her joy. So she talks about when she was growing up, how when they were little, that they would eat each meal like it was their last. So it seemed like when she was growing up, there wasn't a lot of food around. And so whenever she did eat, it was, she overate, I guess, maybe to maybe in her mind, maybe store enough for when she can't eat. I don't know, but it just seemed like with her saying that eating like it's your last meal, it just seems like you're trying to get what you can because you don't know when you're going to eat again. So she said she grew up with her mom until she was in second grade, until she was taken away from her mom because she was left unattended while her mom worked, and her mom worked 3 jobs. So when she was taken away, she was in foster care, she said, for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then she went to live with her dad. So she said that her dad kept all the welfare checks, and so they had to steal money, which I'm guessing maybe, she didn't say what for, but it sounds like maybe it was for food, because later on in the episode, when she moved back with her mom, she says that, she could freely eat food now, compared to where she was coming from. So it seems like, it's either, there's food being kept from her or she's overindulging in food. So there's always a dynamic of food. So she said that when they caught us, referring to her and her brother, they sent us back to foster care. So I don't know. She didn't expound on this stealing of money. Did she steal money and her dad reported her? Or did she try to cash the welfare check and got caught that way, and so they put her back in foster care? But why wouldn't the dad try to keep them? Did he even attempt to keep them? This is just so heartbreaking. Like, you're the only parent she has because she got taken away from the mom, but then you also give her up. So I can see why she's just so traumatized, or, from her early years with these things that happened in her childhood. So she said then they were back in foster care. She said she deliberately started acting out so that she would get sent to live with her mom. And she said that this time around, the situation was more stable. There was food. She said that, it was like paradise coming from where she was before. She could freely eat whatever she want that was in the refrigerator. So she said that by the time that she was 11, she was 200 pounds. And we see her mom in the confessional. She said that, Shakyia was always larger, but she would just eat and eat. So then where were you? Aren't you the parents to say, okay, you cannot have any more, or maybe change what you're bringing into the house so she eats healthier? But why would you allow her to eat and eat and eat at 11? So anyway, she tells a story about how she's being bullied. She was bullied in school for her weight. She says at one point an older kid in school started calling her big draws, and everyone started calling her that in the school. I mean, that was just so sad. I can only imagine, like, as a child, everybody calling you this derogatory thing. Like, how do you build self-esteem from there? Over time, kids build self-esteem, but if everybody's tearing you down, how do you ever have self-esteem? So, she said she would even get at some point pushed in the hallway. And so things kind of escalated from the verbal bullying to physical. And she said she didn't tell anyone because she didn't think that they would care. This just made me so sad. Very sad situation. And it just makes me wonder, like, why she would think that no one would care, She didn't go into her life growing up, what was happening at home, but why would she feel like nobody would care? Not a teacher, not a parent, no one? She never told anyone. And she talks about how when she moved back home, she hardly saw her mom. Or she was living with her mom and there was food there. So basically she was being raised by food because that was the only thing, that was important to her. Her mom wasn't around. She didn't have any friends. So there was just food. So the mom was in the house, but really doesn't sound like she was really present like that. So after she was being bullied, she said she just wanted to be liked. And so she gave into the pressure to have sex. And after that, the boy acted like he didn't know her. So it just seems like she just keeps getting, rejected. And every time, from one rejection to another. First it was, I don't know if the mom ever fought to get her back when she was removed from her house the first time. She didn't say that. Then it was with the dad. The dad allowed them to take her out of there. And then, the rejection from the kids at school, rejection from all this boy. I just feel terrible. And, I was thinking when she was saying that she could benefit from some therapy with Dr. Nall. So maybe Dr. Nall could help her with that. Because she everything is, food is like everything. Whenever anything happens, it's just food is the only thing, because she has nobody to talk to or nobody she feels cares about her, which is kind of sad for a child. So after this, the guy with the situation with the guy, food was the only source of comfort. And this is how, she was able to, I guess, deal with the rejection and the embarrassment. And she said that everybody said nobody wants you, go away. Who's everybody? Who's they? I truly hope that, her family members weren't a part of this, teasing or, making her feel unwanted. So she says she was close to 400 pounds by the time she left high school. And on the first semester of college alone, she gained like 80 pounds. She says she felt so depressed that she left college and she came back home to live with her mom. So she was on the right path with her education, but, she kind of gave up on that. And I wish that she didn't. And instead, even if she didn't want to be physically in college or be around people, that she would have attempted to take her classes online. So she said she ended up after she left college, to work at a call center, and she said she would eat from the vending machine. She talks about how going back and forth to the vending machine would have her winded. And then she eventually left that job. She went to go work at a gas station. And at that job, she ended up being a victim of sexual assault, and she was really, really traumatized from that. And she said this was something that she can't even begin to describe. And she said, she described how she couldn't even barely walk home after that happened. She didn't really say who did it. Was it somebody who worked there, or was it just a customer to the gas station? She didn't really, it seemed like something that she just doesn't want to talk about. And she says that she didn't say she reported to the police, but it seems like her sister knew about it, because her sister said that after she mentioned that, her sister in her confessional said that that really broke her in more ways than one. And her mom, it seems like her mom knew about it. She said after that happened, she kind of gave up on life. She went into a really deep depression, and that's when the lymphedema started. And after, the assault happened, she was even scared to go outside. She was never outside. She just stayed in the house. So she continued to gain weight and became less and less mobile. And she says, Shakyia says she's noticed a huge difference, in her activity or her ability to move around in the last 4 months alone. So later we see her and her sister go to the grocery store. On the way to the store, all they were talking about was food, how they were going to, what they were going to get, how they're going to prepare it, but maybe this was just edited. So Shakyia says she didn't want to stay at the store too long because her lymphedema hurt. And she has to use like the wheeled little cart thingy to get around the store. And even then, she was breathing really heavy. So it seems like any kind of exertion that she does kind of leaves her winded. So, of course, I didn't expect her to buy anything healthy, and she didn't. At one point, her sister was like, really, Shakyia? Because of all the junk that she was buying. And she just didn't care. She's getting what she wanted, because she said, she said she's going to call her mom. She's like, well, go ahead and call her. What's she going to do? So she just wanted to get what she wanted to get. So Shakyia says she feels like she's lost control. She needs to do something about it. And her sister says she feels bad seeing her this way, and she fears that she might die if she doesn't lose the weight. And her mom said something really shocking, which I was like, my jaw kind of dropped, because like, who says that about their child? She says her boobs like weigh like 150 apiece, and laughed. Seriously? That was not funny. That was really messed up. So Shakyia says her body is getting tired and feels like she feels like a shutdown is coming. And we see where her mom, they were in the living room, and her mom was like, are you ready to do this or whatever? And she tells her to just do her best and that the family's there for her. But I wasn't buying it. It just seems like very disingenuous, like something she was doing for the camera. Because how do you go from laughing about the size of her boobs to acting like you're concerned and supportive of her weight? I didn't like that. I did not like that at all. Regardless, we see the obvious, but you don't have to laugh about her boobs. So her mom goes on to say that she's not helping her. She's an adult. I guess she's tired of helping her. She said she would do the diet with her or work out with her, but she's not helping her with anything else or something like that. She said something about not helping her. But she says she's an adult. Shakyia wants to do something before she eats herself to death, she said. So it's time to go see Dr. Now, and the drive is 15 hours. The appointment is in 4 days. And it seems like Shakyia is going with Shanika and her friend Delilah. So Shanika says her and Shakyia are 6 years apart, and she says how they used to bump heads when they were little, but now they have a good relationship. She has high hopes for Shakyia and hopes that she's ready. On the way there, we see Shakyia. She's just snacking away in the car. So then they stop overnight in Atlanta, on the road the next day. And she says she's very uncomfortable in the back seat. And she's saying she's using snacking as a distraction. Once again, we kind of see where every little thing is food. Whatever it is, it's food that she uses. Food is a solution for her. After an hour, they're going to stop and eat and stretch their legs. At this rate, I don't know if they'll get to Dr. Now on time because they seem to be stopping every 2 seconds. So they stopped at a place and they parked the car. Shakyia is trying to get out. Of course, she's stuck. And the sister and the friend just walk off like this. The sister is gone through the door. The friend is round in the front of the truck, and while she's trying to get out the vehicle. And they just left her struggling. One of her sandals fell off, and she's trying to get her shoes. And I was just like, wow. It's like they're just saying the right things, but I don't see much care here. If it were my sister, and knowing that she's always having difficulty getting, every time that we've seen her throughout the show, she has difficulty getting in and out of the car. Why would we just shut the door and leave her like she's going to just spring out the vehicle on her own? She obviously is going to leave help, and they just left her in the parking lot. And so she's walking by herself. By the time she got to the table, they were already at the table, which is kind of sad. Do they not want to be seen with her or something? Or do they just not care? Like, I feel like that was a little bit harsh. I wouldn't do that to my sister anyway. So they ordered a ton of food at the restaurant. Shakyia had burgers, hot dogs, fries. Then we see a lady come with fried chicken, and she goes on to say how she doesn't like to eat in public because she doesn't want people looking at her. And then when they were leaving, we heard Shanika ask her if she didn't want her cake. So it seemed like they had dessert as well. So back at the car, Shakyia is having a warm time getting back in the car. She's so winded. It's just so scary. And she was saying that she's beginning to reconsider whether she should have gone on the road trip. She said if they weren't more than halfway there, she would consider turning back. So I get that she might have been uncomfortable being stuck back there in the vehicle, but does she really want to lose the weight? Does she really want to go to Dr. Now? Because really, whatever it takes, you would think that at this point, and knowing the condition that she's in, she wouldn't consider turning back around, but she's considering turning back around if she wasn't almost halfway there. So I just wonder at this point in the episode about her commitment, if she's considering turning around. So when they stopped for the night, she had a hard time once again getting out the car, limited help from the friends. She was partially stuck trying to get out the car, and they just walked off saying, you got this, Shakyia. One of them did end up coming back, but she was struggling to get out the vehicle, and I think they just threw her shoe back down. I think that was the extent of the help that she got. It wasn't much of a help. And they were gone. Of course, they're carrying their bag, so that's help. But as far as helping her, get out the vehicle, helping her get her shoes back on or whatever. So she had to take a lot of stops to catch her breath. And she says her sister and her friend doesn't take it seriously how much pain that she's in. And the room is very far away. They're going down the hallway, around the hall, down the hallway. It's very, very far once they get off the elevator. And so when she got to the room, she just plopped onto the bed, and she was having a really hard time slowing her breath down. She was just breathing really, really hard. She was very winded. So she said she was going to crash, and they left her in the room. I had a problem with that, really, because she was breathing so hard. I was wondering if maybe she's going to have a heart attack or something, and then they just left her. It's not like they had adjoining rooms that they could peek back in. It seemed like she had her own room. Why would you just leave her? I would at least hang out for a minute, even if I didn't want to tell her that's why I'm hanging around, just to make sure that she's breathing okay, and they just left her in the room. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I understand it's good that they're driving her or accompanying her to the appointment, but there just doesn't seem like a lot of genuine care. And I could see why, maybe she felt like nobody cares about her. Yes, they're saying the right things. Yes, they're helping her, but where's the care? I just don't see a whole lot of it. So the following day, they're back in the car. Shakyia says food is the only thing that makes this trip bearable. She says there's pain flaring up in her leg, so they're going to stop for chicken fingers. Do you see how funny that is? I have pain in my leg, so I'm going to eat. So, it's this food thing again, and she really needs therapy for this. Not, maybe there's some ointment I could try, not some ibuprofen, but food. I don't know if ibuprofen or any of that would help, but I'm just saying, when you have pain in your body, you don't think food, unless it's a hunger pain. But this is her thing. So she says that she's eating all she can before she starts Dr. Now's diet. And she goes on to say that she's not in as much pain when she starts eating. So a few hours later, they're finally in Texas, so they'll go see Dr. Now the following day. They get to the hotel. When they arrive in Houston, Shakyia says she's in a lot of pain and she's dreading the trek to the room because remember the last time her room was very, very far away. So she also goes on to say that this trip made her realize that how bad things have gotten. And again, once she gets to the room, she plops down on the bed. And as soon as she gets in the room, they're gone. And maybe it's edited. I don't know. But I just hope they didn't just leave her like that. Once again, she's just in the room by herself, trying to slow her breath down. But she says that she's going to turn her life around and she doesn't want to go on living this way. So she makes it to Dr. Now and she's worried about what Dr. Now will think. How much do you think she weighs? I was guessing like maybe around 565, but when she weighed in, she was coming in at 655 pounds. I was like, man, I completely underestimated her weight. She's very, very heavy. I was trying to remember that guy, Abby, how much he started out weighing, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think he was in the 600s? I don't remember. So Dr. Now asked what happened, and he asked what was her highest weight. She said this was it. And she goes on to tell him how she's an emotional eater due to trauma that she suffered. He asked about her activity. She says she can't really walk much because of the lymphedema that she has. Dr. Now asks, tells her that she needs to lose weight. No, she asks him like what she can do about the lymphedema that she has, and he tells her that she needs to lose weight and then it will shrink. They can remove it, but not at 600 pounds. And he tells her that she needs to learn to deal with her emotions in a different way. So he's going to set up remote therapy for her. He asked if anybody else has a weight problem in her house. She said, no, it's just her. And Dr. Now asked, if she has, who's helping her, if she has support. And she says that, her family are, all supportive of her. And Dr. Now asked if she had any goals. She says she has 3 goals: to finish college, to join a sorority, and to go on a cruise. So Dr. Now tells her that's good that she has goals because that's going to help her when she struggles. He says because of the strain that's on her body, it can give out any minute. So she has to start making changes now. And if she doesn't, she won't be able to live very long. If she keeps this up, she might not make it to 30. So I don't remember if it's the sister or the friend who asked how much she needs to lose. Dr. Now knows what they were asking. But he said, she needs to lose 500 pounds for her height. But in the short term, she needs to lose 50 pounds in the next 2 months for a start. So as usual, Dr. Now says he's skeptical about what he's hearing. He thinks that she's using trauma as an excuse to eat what she wants. And unless she makes changes, it's not likely that anything will change in the long term. So Dr. Now says the 50 pounds that he gives her is an easy goal, and it's going to show him that she's taking responsibility. He also goes on to say that her BMI is very, very high. He didn't say what it was, but he says normal BMI is 18 to 25. So back in Charlotte, we see Shakyia heading downstairs after she got back. She says that it's been a few weeks since she's seen Dr. Now, and she's doing everything Dr. Now says. We see her going outside for a walk with her nephew. But by the time she gets to the car, she gets off her porch. The car is backed into the garage. And by the time she gets to the car, she has to stop because she's breathing so hard. So her nephew's like, you got to take a couple steps, because she was like, I don't think I can do it. So then by the time she makes it to the front of the truck, she's turning back around and going back in the house. So she says that she has to do an hour a day, but that wasn't an hour. And I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's splitting up her hour in different sections, like, okay, do a few minutes here, do a few minutes there. But that was not a lot of exercise. So anyway, the sister came home and asked what's for dinner. She said she was having a chicken salad. And she asked how the diet was going. She says that she's sticking to the diet. And Shakyia says she's made a lot of changes already. All right, so I'm hopeful because she's having a salad. All right, so month 6 now, we see Dr. Now getting on the phone. We see here he's looking at his little book, hunting and pecking for keys, trying to make a call. So when he calls, he gets Shakyia's voicemail. And I was like, what? Shakyia's not picking up? What is going on? And Dr. Now tells us that he hasn't heard from her in a long time, and he's been calling, and he's not getting any return call. He's calling again. Dr. Now says she missed her follow-up appointment, which was 3 months ago, and he hopes that she's doing okay. He hopes that her body hasn't given out or something like that, but until he hears from her, he is very concerned because of her health and her weight. Month 7, Dr. Now's office finally heard from Shakyia. There's a video call. And Dr. Now asks how she's doing. She says she's doing okay now. And he asked what happened. He left several voicemails and he didn't hear back. She tells him that she had respiratory failure. She says she woke up and when she woke up, she had lost the ability to use her legs or something. She was in hospice. She said that she had gotten home after work. She went to lay down. The next time she woke up, she was on a ventilator. So she said she had been sick for a few months, and Dr. Now said, oh, so that's why you couldn't call us back and you couldn't call and notify us. So Dr. Now is pretty much like, really? You can call? You can find 2 seconds to call and let us know that you can make your appointment. So Shakyia says that someone in the hospital or hospice was supposed to call and let her know, but it seemed like they didn't. And so he asked what was the plan now. She says she's in hospice, but she doesn't like it there because she can't have visitors. Dr. Now asks if she's supposed, if she's going to go home then. And she says she can't because her mom has kicked her out. And so her and her friends are supposed to get an apartment together. She says she's trying to move to Houston. And he asked about her weight. She says she doesn't know what her current weight is, but she's sticking to the plan. Dr. Now asks her if she's doing any exercises, and she says she does what she can because with the cane that she has a walker, so she can't really do much. So Dr. Now says, to stick to the plan. She needs to go to a local clinic to do her weighing, and if she sticks to the diet and whatever, stick to the program, then he will still plan on doing her surgery. Dr. Now is glad that he was finally able to reach her, and I'm glad that he didn't give up on her until he was able to verify that she was okay. Dr. Now says, he hopes that she's being truthful about her diet, but he's very much doubting that because he feels like she was trying to avoid him some of the time over the last few months where he hadn't heard from her. He thinks that she's not being truthful either about the amount of time that she was in the hospital, and I do agree because it seemed like she's been evasive. It only takes like a few minutes to send. She could have emailed, text, or called somebody at Dr. Now's office to let them know, but she didn't reach out at all. So that was kind of fishy. Maybe maybe she was trying to delay the follow-up or something why she hasn't been in touch. She says Dr. Now asked her about her diet. She says she's mostly been eating protein, but I don't know. Because I think Dr. Now asked if she was on any special diet before her saying that she's only been eating protein. But the fact that, she's not on a special diet, I highly doubt that she can just only survive on protein only all day. It's not like she has any distractions. It's not, she's out and busy where, she's not thinking about food. And Dr. Now doesn't believe her either that she's on the diet, but he's like, okay, I hope you're sticking with your diet. So back with Shakyia, she's in her room and she's taking her meds. She says her mom kicked her out. because according to her, she can't handle taking care of her anymore, which she said that she understands, but it's still depressing. But I'm feeling like with this news that she got, that she can't go back home, that maybe over the few months that Dr. Now haven't heard from her, that she had once again turned to food because of her mom kicking her out. And I could see that because that's been her pattern in the past. She also did not start the therapy that she was supposed to when she first left Dr. Now's office. She says she's going to get a place with her friend. She doesn't know how she's going to pay for her portion of the rent, so I don't know how that's going to work. We see where she had lunch. It looked fairly healthy, except for the fact that she was eating tortillas. I was like, oh boy, I'm sure that's not in the diet plan for Dr. Now. And she also says that she's been working hard to do the exercises, but she's not sure how much weight she's lost so far. This is just sad because she's saying, she doesn't have the support. She's there by herself. She can't have any visitors. And in the meantime, while she's there, her mom kicked her out the house. So month 10, we see where Shakyia is out of hospice. She's found a place. She's living in an extended stay. But her goal is to get to Houston, to get to Dr. Now. And she says that she's in a better place now. She's starting to resume the program. She says she's in a tough situation. And she's not eating as much as she used to. She says she's made a lot of changes, so that's positive. She says she's been doing her exercises from the book, and we've seen her doing some little exercises. There's not really much that she can do because she's still in the walker. So month 11, she says she's been working hard for the last month, and she wants to get back to Dr. Now, but Dr. Now wants to have a video appointment. He doesn't want her to come down there. Shakyia says she's trying to save up money to move to Houston. Dr. Now tells her that they need to determine what her progress is. So he tells her that she's been in the program for going on 12 months. Okay, so she was on month 11. He tells her that she should have lost 200 to 300 pounds by now, and it's clear that she has not. So he tells her, if she wants to move, that's up to her, but they're not moving forward with the surgery at this time. So she needs to go to a local clinic to do a weighing so they can determine where she is. Shakyia says she's a little frustrated because it's been taking so long, and she's hoping that the appointment will happen soon. So she says she's been working hard and sticking to her diet, and she hopes that she's below 500 pounds by now. So after the conversation with Dr. Now, the appointment is within a week from that time. So we'll see where she goes to her weighing. She says she has been working hard. And at the weighing, her weight came in at 643 pounds. Ooh, she started at 655, so she's only lost 12 pounds. She says she knows she has done better than that, and the only reason why it's that is because of all the setbacks with her health. I'm surprised Dr. Now didn't tell her the scale didn't lie. The scale doesn't lie. So Dr. Now said you lost 12 pounds in a year. You should have been losing a pound per day, not a pound per month. So he says you're not doing the things that you need to do. Dr. Now tells her she has wasted a year. And she says, yes, but I'm ready now. And Dr. Now goes on to tell her, you didn't follow up with your therapy sessions. And she says, well, I had to go to hospice. I was unable to. And Dr. Now tells her she's making a lot of excuses, but it's up to her to decide what happens now. And she says, she should do what it takes. And she wants to change her life. So Dr. Now relented and tell her that she can come in 2 months if she loses 50 pounds and that this is her last chance. So Dr. Now tells her bye and gets off the phone. So he says that Shakyia continues with the same pattern of behavior that she always has, making excuses, and she's looking for a quick fix with the surgery, but he hopes he's wrong. He says this is her last chance, and if she doesn't do what needs to be done, she is going to be out of the program. So month 12, Shakyia says she's been improving her eating and focused more than ever, watching what she puts in her body. And we haven't seen between the time that she was in hospice and the time that she's up to this point, we haven't seen any visitors to her house. And she looks so lonely, so sad. She says she's been eating only what's in Dr. Now's book, and she's been doing all her exercises. She really wanted to have the surgery, and she's ready to move to Texas. She wants to move to Texas no matter what. So month 13, she's headed to the clinic again to do her weighing because Dr. Now says, do not come back down here. You need to lose 50 pounds before you come back to my office. So she says she's confident that she will have lost more this time. She just doesn't know if it'll be enough. Once again, she is on her own. Nobody accompanied her to the office. It seems like her sister and her friends are like nowhere to be found, which makes me wonder if something else happened. Why would they just abandon her like this? I wonder what really happened. So anyway, today when she had her weighing, her weight was 509. She's supposed to be 593 or less, and her weight came in at 635. She only lost 8 pounds since the last meeting with Dr. Now. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? I was so hopeful for her because she was saying she was so strict with her diet. She was doing her exercises. She was only doing what's in the diet. But why? She only lost 8 pounds. I don't know. Dr. Now said, you lost 8 pounds instead of 50. She says that she lost more than she has in the last year. Dr. Now tells her that something is always an improvement over nothing. So that's not saying much. I'm like, dang, Dr. Nice, Dr. Now. Gee. So Dr. Now tells her she has only lost 20 pounds. And she says that if you give me one more chance, I can lose even more. Dr. Now tells her she's had a year. You've had your chance. Dr. Now tells her that at this point, there's no reason to do any more follow-ups. She says, please don't give up on me, Dr. Now. And he tells her, like, I don't give up on people. People give up on themselves. And Dr. Now offers her the therapy, and he said he can set her up with that. He tells her that maybe, with working with them over time, she can get to a place where she can make the changes that she needs. Dr. Now tells her that she can do the therapy, and if she loses 50 pounds, she can reach out to them again, but there's no point in doing any follow-ups. And so she tells him she's moving to Houston, and he tells her, like, that doesn't mean anything to me if you don't lose the weight. You can move all you want. It's up to you. That's you doing that. That's not me telling you to do that. And he says that you moving to Houston will not mean anything, just so we're clear about that. And she says she's aware. He says, okay, let me know if you need anything. And if you do end up losing the weight, let me know. And then he ended the call. So I feel bad for Shakyia. It looks like she's really trying. Compared to where she started at with the amounts of food that she was eating, I don't see that she was eating a ton of food. But clearly she's eating something because she's not losing the weight. Or maybe it's because she's not moving around as much. Because when we started, the episode, she was moving by herself. Now she has to use this walker thing. So maybe she's not burning as many calories as she would if she was walking unassisted. Maybe that's it. But I feel like she was really trying. I really believed her that she was doing what she was supposed to do, or what she's doing better from what we see than compared to the start of the episode. But I feel like the therapy may really, really help her because it doesn't seem like she's dealt with the trauma from her past. And maybe if she can deal with those in a healthy way, that would result in physical improvements. And Shakyia says she's not giving up. She's still planning on moving to Houston. Month 16, she says she's been working hard and that she's been losing weight. She says she found a place in Houston, but she's working on getting the funds together. She hasn't started the therapy yet. She says it's better for her to do it in person, but I think that's an excuse. This whole 12 months, 16 months, she's been avoiding doing that therapy for some reason, because from her first visit to Dr. Now, she was offered the therapy and she never accepted the appointment. She always let them lapse. And even now, she's still making excuses. So I feel like those traumas that she had in her past, she's trying to avoid talking about them, and that's why she hasn't started the therapy. So they really have to be some things that are really deep and harmful and painful that she's so adamant about not talking about them. So I'm really rooting for her. I really hope that she gets to lose the weight, but I think that therapy is going to be very essential for her to make those changes that she needs to. I went online to look to see if there's any updates on her, and I didn't really see anything. So I wish her the best of luck. and I will check periodically to see if there's any updates on her. I really thought that she would be able to get the surgery, but not so much. She's still working on making the changes that she needs to, so I wish her luck, and I'm rooting for her. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Like, comment, and subscribe.